Hello, I'm Doug Llewelyn, and welcome to the mountains of western North Carolina near Asheville and Hendersonville. Pretty spectacular, don't you think? No question, it's one of the most beautiful spots anywhere, and there's so much to do around here. Great outdoor activities, plus nearby shopping, wonderful restaurants, legendary hotels, and the magnificent Biltmore Estate in Asheville. And this, the Flat Rock Playhouse, the State Theater of North Carolina, located here in the village of Flat Rock. This remarkable regional theater, now observing its 62nd anniversary, has been presenting outstanding theatrical productions of every conceivable type, featuring extraordinary performers who come here from all over the country, many of them right from Broadway. This is the home of theater magic here in the mountains. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to show you a little bit of just what you've been missing if you haven't been to Flat Rock to see a show. You'll be amazed. We'll begin right after this message from our sponsor, Rug & Home. When it comes to theater magic in the mountains, musicals have always been big favorites here. Through the years, almost every major Broadway musical has been presented on this stage. Recently, a stunning production of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Evita was presented here. It's the story of Eva Duarte Perón, who became the most powerful woman in the history of Argentina, but then died at the age of 33 from cancer. Evita starred Anna Islandsfeld, who came here straight from the Broadway cast of the super hit show Wicked.
Stand back, Buenos Aires, because you ought to know what you're gonna get in me. Just a little touch of star quality.
It's a dream role, and so I've always wanted to play this role. It's absolutely a treat to do it. And I love doing it here. We have an amazing cast, a really supportive climate, which is just what you need to be artistic and take risks and challenge yourself in ways that maybe you didn't think you could. Like coming to this, had no idea I'd be able to actually dance Buenos Aires and sing it. And just with the inspiration of the people around me, it's been totally possible and very exciting, though it's exhausting. My challenge with Eva is to show why you loved her and to justify her actions, you know, why she did what she did. And sometimes that's really hard with the music and the text because it exposes all of her flaws. But deep down, she just wanted to help her people.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence, I kept my promise.
Evita was a major hit, and Anna Islandsfeld was truly phenomenal. Today, she is back on Broadway, appearing in the Tony Award-winning Best Musical of last year, Kinky Boots. But audiences here got to see her first. Among other major musicals that have been presented recently, Cats, shown in the round, and a rip-roaring version of Hairspray. is one of the oldest and most familiar of all holiday season theatrical shows. For something really special, the Playhouse invited the noted Broadway choreographer Chase Brock, whose credits include the mega production of Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark, to create a special version just for their audience. Amazingly, Chase grew up here and was a student at the Flat Rock Playhouse Youth Theater from the time he was 6 until 16, when he left to appear in a Broadway show. He's been in New York ever since. The invite to come back home thrilled him.
Once I had sort of decided, okay, it's going to be a piece of dance theater, then the challenge was, how do we reinvent it and why? What is compelling about doing the Nutcracker? There's so many productions and different versions. So then I thought, well, a version I have never seen is the Flat Rock Playhouse version, the Appalachian version, the Western North Carolina version. So the fascinating part here is doing something wordless for an audience that for 60 years has gotten their information from language, songs. Of course they do big musicals here at Flat Rock Playhouse, but they have never done in the 60 years an entirely wordless piece of theater. And so I think that's very exciting.
To design the costumes for this unique version of the Nutcracker, Chase turned to an old friend of his who is a legend in the world of Broadway costume design, Anne Hould Ward, who has created the costumes for more than 18 Broadway shows, as well as the Metropolitan Opera and the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. She won a Tony for her extraordinary costume designs for Broadway's Beauty and the Beast.
Well, I've designed so many animals in my time, from the wolf in the original Into the Woods through the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. I think that the idea, the development of how I turn a person into an animal is just kind of comes as second nature to me now. And I think Chase has done a wonderful job of developing these characters in such a way that they are, yes, it takes place in Hendersonville, North Carolina, but do I think that a little girl in Dutton, Montana would still love the story and be able to see herself as Marie? Absolutely. Or a little girl in New York City.
Of all the big musicals presented here at the Flat Rock Playhouse, last year's production of the world's most popular musical, Les Miserables, still has audience members talking. It really was spectacular. It involved a huge cast of 34 performers, including several key roles filled by 10-year-old students from the Flat Rock Playhouse Youth Theater. For them especially, it was an extraordinary opportunity. To fill the leading role of Jean Valjean, the producers brought in Rob Evan, a former University of Georgia football player who has actually starred as Valjean on Broadway. He has a voice that is one of a kind.
You can give, let him be, let him live. If I die, let me die. Let him live.
You know, it's funny, Valjean is a difficult role to sing. It's one of the, I feel, one of the hardest male leading roles currently in contemporary Broadway. And I played it as a 26-year-old. And really actually had to psych myself to go out on stage every night to just get through the part. And it's funny now, gosh, as a 45-year-old, I feel so much more comfortable vocally to play it and feel like that I'm so, much more appropriately cast. Certain times you have to sing a beautiful high tenor falsetto that's, kind of like an Irish tenor. And then other times you're belting out, lyric baritone parts and singing at the bottom of your range. And then that's throughout an evening of almost 3 hours. So it's something you have to almost train like a marathon runner to play this part and to sing the role.
My soul belongs to God, I know. I made that bargain long ago. He gave me hope when hope was gone. He gave me strength to journey on. Who am I?
Listen, there's no possible way.
Who am I? I'm John Valjean. And so, Javert, you see, it's true. This man bears no more guilt than you. Who am I? 2, 4, 6, 1.
One of the more unique things about the Flat Rock Playhouse is the fact that many of the shows presented here have actually been created here or are being developed here for eventual production by other theaters or even on Broadway. And we have 2 great examples to show you. One of the most uproarious comedies you'll ever see, was the brainchild of the Playhouse's artistic director, Vincent Marini. It was called Our Show of Shows and was based on skits performed on Sid Caesar's legendary television series, Your Show of Shows, which dates back to the mid-1950s, over 60 years ago. It was non-stop hilarity. Written and directed by Marini, this skit is based on the memorable television series, This Is Your Life. The cast includes Tom Wall as the show host, local favorite Scott Treadway, and Broadway veteran Rob McClure, who are both comedic geniuses. McClure plays the surprise guest who practically goes crazy, kissing and hugging his old friend.
Sit down over here. We can get on with your story there, Al. I'm going to do it in Al time, people. Yes, there we go. Now, Al, you've got to get on with your life.
I'm not gay.
You've got to get on with your life, Al. There we go. There we go. I mean, just sit down over here. I know. Now, Al, we've got a lot of surprises.
Here's something you might find interesting. While he was appearing here, Rob McClure learned that a show he had helped develop and play the lead in was ready to go to Broadway. It was called Chaplin the Musical, and he was starring as Charlie Chaplin. Before he left, he talked with me about the research he was doing in order to play Chaplin's legendary film character, the Tramp.
I said to the coach, you know, when I'm doing the little waddle, Chaplin sometimes has these little bursts of energy. A shoulder will go or a leg will pop as he's walking. And I said, I'd like to incorporate some of that. And he said, well, it's not random. Why is he doing it? I said, well, it seems random. Sometimes I'll just, no, it's not random. Watch it again. And the more I watched, the more I realized it was usually when he had been let down, either by an opportunity or a woman, where he had been insulted, and he turns away, and as he's walking away, the shoulder goes, and it was a way of shaking it off. And I went, oh my God, you're right. Nothing is random. Everything has a specific purpose. And the more I can attach the physical behavior to what's happening in the scene, the closer I think I get to Chaplin.
Rob was obviously very comfortable in his role here on the Flat Rock stage, but as for playing Charlie Chaplin on Broadway, he admitted to being very nervous.
The play covers his entire life, so I knew that when I played Chaplin the man, that could be a lot of myself, but when the little mustache goes on in the hat, you can't screw that up. That's got to be right. The pressure of that is exciting if you get it right.
Well, Rob ended up heading straight from Flat Rock to New York, where he received unanimous praise from all the critics for his portrayal of Charlie Chaplin. And he won the ultimate honor of a Tony Award nomination for Best Actor of the Year on Broadway. And audiences here got to see him first. Another great example of a show being developed here at the Flat Rock Playhouse for Broadway is the musical Zelda, an American love story.
Endless tomorrows, nights on the town, flying too high to ever look down. These things I remember when I remember you.
The story is set here in the Blue Ridge Mountains and tells about 2 people who spent a lot of time here, specifically in the city of Asheville, just 30 minutes away. I'm referring to the great American novelist F. Scott Fitzgerald and his unforgettable wife Zelda. It all takes place in the roaring 20s and 30s when they were the golden couple of that golden age. It's the story of the barbarian princess of the South who married the prophet of the roaring 20s and together became so famous practically everyone knew about them and their wild exports. Theirs was truly a love affair for the ages. The music was written by Frank Wildhorn, a very successful music composer who has written pop songs that have been recorded by many famous artists. More importantly, his passion is writing for the musical stage, and he has many successful shows to his credit, at least 10, that have played in theaters around the world, including several of them on Broadway in New York. His most successful being Jekyll and Hyde, which ran for more than 5 years in 2 runs on Broadway. The show has had over 600 productions staged around the world, plus 32 recordings in 28 languages. In 2012, his musical Bonnie and Clyde ran on Broadway and was nominated for a Tony, Broadway's equivalent of an Oscar. Wildhorn has been amazingly prolific and successful. Even more amazing, at the age of 15, he taught himself how to play the piano. He has never had a formal music lesson. This idea was right down his alley.
Well, I love the 20s and the jazz age. And, you know, there were really 2 famous couples back then. And one was Bonnie and Clyde, and the other was Scott and Zelda. I've already done Bonnie and Clyde. And that was kind of west of the Mississippi. And that was almost like Civil War, very Americana music, and the Dust Bowl and all of that. But on the other side of the Mississippi, heading towards the big cities, the music was jazz and Charleston, and just much more sophisticated. And as a composer, I always loved that challenge of taking an era and a place and putting music to it. So again, with Bonnie and Clyde with the Dust Bowl, that had a real personality to it musically. With Scott and Zelda and the world that they lived in, that had a real personality musically. So I thought that would be a great challenge.
As with any major musical production, the most important element, of course, is the music, which presents the question of just how does Frank Wildhorn go about writing his songs?
It's like fishing. The songs are there, and my job is to get to the piano and go fishing, and hopefully on a good day I catch a big one, or many of them, and on a bad day I don't catch anything, or, you know, some little ones. In the theater, you know, I have a responsibility to the play, to the scene, to the character. Is the music moving the plot ahead? Is the music giving us insight into the thoughts or feelings of a character? It's a whole different kind of set of muscles that I use when I do theater. But at the end of the day, you know, it's still getting in tune, communicating what I want a character or what I want a singer to say to you, and going for that.
And starring as Zelda is a veteran Broadway performer who just happens to be a native North Carolinian from Raleigh. Her name is Lauren Kennedy. Her New York credits include the shows Spamalot, Sunset Boulevard, Les Miserables, and the lead role as Nellie Forbush in the London West End revival of South Pacific. Amazingly, she happened to be very familiar with Zelda's real-life story because she had read all about her.
She's such an amazing woman, and honestly somebody I'd always been sort of interested in because of her exuberance and life, yet so damaged and troubled. I had actually read a book about her before I even was asked to be a part of this production, because my mom and I just were fascinated with her. So it was really cool to get to sort of, oh, I have all this knowledge anyway about her. And so it's fun to get to be able to apply it to a role. I think it's the most interesting and full character I've ever played because of the fact of her imperfections. You know, if you look at somebody like Nellie Forbush, well, she was written in, you know, literally 1946. And there were limitations about what you could write and say about women of that time. And so there was more of a box. Zelda in this production is so much more fleshed out and so much more exuberant than any other role I've ever played. I mean, even in contemporary stuff, just because of the nature of this dynamic relationship she had and her search for, you know, who she really is. You know, it's that typical, I have something so important to say, I have all this stuff to give, but I don't know how to. I don't know how. I could dance, I could paint, I could write, I can do anything, yet she didn't ultimately really do any of it. She was like jack of all trades, master of none. So
that is fascinating to me.
The story of Zelda was a hit, and as with all shows in development, the producers are now deciding if it needs more work or if it's now ready to take to Broadway. Only time will tell.
Bringing back my life to me. To me.
Continuing our look at theater magic here in the mountains, the variety of musical productions presented here is truly amazing and covers a broad variety of composers, genres, and styles, from the music and the story of Buddy Holly and Hank Williams to the songs of Neil Diamond and the Beatles, and even a fascinating tour through the life story of the great Las Vegas performer Clint Holmes.
You see, Sammy Davis Jr. opened this room. Sammy could do anything on a stage. He could sing, he told jokes, he did gun tricks, he did impressions, he played half the instruments in the band. But my strongest memory of Sammy Davis Jr. on stage, my clearest vision, is the way he tap danced. Probably right about here.
There is just no question that the Flat Rock Playhouse has an amazing story to tell and extraordinary productions that really do create theater magic here in the mountains. This season, by the way, is the season of love and laughter, and there are some great shows coming this summer. In June, one of the best musicals of them all, Lerner and Loewe's My Fair Lady. In July, there's that terrific story of love and revolution, Miss Saigon. And coming in October, one of the funniest musicals ever written, Stephen Sondheim's A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. They'll all be here waiting for you to enjoy, so come feel the magic. I'm Doug Llewelyn. Thanks for being with us. I hope to see you at the show.